It's a sign of a great series when all they have to do is show one little thing and it can tug at your heartstrings and bring a tear to your eye. And this episode did just that. The term lost, which is the name of this episode, is perfect to describe it. When seeking something lost, you often discover something else that you didn't intend. And that is exactly what happens in this episode. Spoiler warning for those who haven't seen the episode just yet. I'm not going to be showing clips from the episode or the episode itself in this video, just images of the episode and analyses based on that. The episode starts off with Emerald and Mercury training alongside her. She's not too happy with the way things are being kept in the dark, and Mercury makes the comment, well, yeah, Cinder was a pain, but at least she told us what was going on. And that prompts Emerald to ask him, why did he even join them with Emerald and Cinder when they came to him? Well, it seemed like fate. I just killed my dad and then you guys showed up looking for someone with the exact skills that I have, so why not join? Emerald not too happy about that. She questions him, what do you even want from this? Well, we're gonna be top dogs in Salem's New World if we help her get what she wants, right? No. Emerald won't take that as an answer. You know, Cinder was her family, and now she just doesn't feel like she belongs. And Mercury, that sets him off just a little bit, and he tries to correct Emerald by saying, don't kid yourself. You're in denial. Cinder never cared about you, never cared about either of us. And that gets Emerald a little bit pissed off as well, saying that, again, Cinder was her family. She loved Cinder. Cinder taught her things and was helpful to her. Mercury's not going to take any of it, because, frankly, he had the opposite of love. He didn't get love from anyone. He got hatred from his father. His father beat him through training, and we actually find out why we haven't seen what Mercury's semblance is. His father took Mercury's semblance when it was unlocked. Using his own semblance, he took it and said, you can have it back when you're strong. A semblance is just a crutch. It makes you weak. Which, in fact, a semblance makes you the opposite, because if you learn to use a semblance, it makes you actually pretty strong, as we've seen throughout the series so far. But, you know, Mercury did become strong in his own right. Strong enough to kill his father, and even with that, he didn't get his semblance back, which is actually interesting. We find out that even if a person dies, their semblance isn't cancelled. So if there's something that can be potentially permanent with a person's semblance, like taking someone else's semblance away, even if that person is killed, what they took is not returned. That's very interesting. So killing a person doesn't actually cancel the effects of their semblance. That might play a part later on in the series, but we don't know at this point. Mercury then claims he's exactly where he's supposed to be, and then they're interrupted by Tyrian showing up, who has his new mechanical tail. A little bit bulkier than his old tail, and seems to have a little bit longer of a point at the end, but we'll see how he uses it, maybe later this volume, probably next volume. And he sees right through Mercury. Aw, little boy, all you've known is pain and violence, and now you're too afraid to leave. Of course, that sets Mercury off, but Tyrian, being a little bit more skilled, puts him down pretty much immediately and says, you're asking the wrong questions. It shouldn't be what you want from this. You should just simply love what it is you do. And Tyrian is a prime example of that. We should all love what it is we do throughout life. It makes life more enjoyable, and, you know, with our limited time, you may as well enjoy your life. Hopefully, though, it's not the same thing that Tyrian loves, which is the pain and suffering of others, which, you know, breaking the law, making others miserable, probably something we shouldn't be doing. And Emerald and Mercury at this point are questioning, so are you saying we should just leave? No, they can't do that. And, you know, Tyrian just says, I just came by to say goodbye, because him and Watts are headed off to Atlas to prepare just in case Ironwood smartens up and calls for help from Vacuo. Watts shows up, prevents Tyrian from saying any more, and Tyrian leaves with some parting words. You know, you should do what you love. Please, I'm begging you. Which makes it seem like Tyrian is kind of coaxing them into leaving Salem's faction, which I'm guessing he might not mind if they did leave, because he would enjoy hunting them down afterwards. So we'll see where that ends up leading, but in the meantime it cuts back to Mistral, and we see that Jaune, Ren, Nora, along with Saffron, are out looking for Oscar. Saffron, of course, having a bunch of questions, such as, what exactly happened with Oscar? You know, if this mission is so stressful, why don't you guys take a different one? Of course, she's getting stonewalled, though, saying, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's a lot you don't know. So she just says, okay, goes off to pick up her toddler. Ren and Nora actually go to a cafe, leaving Jaune sitting alone on a bench. And we see an autumn leaf flutter by, red after just falling off the tree, and seeming a little bit out of place in the wintry area of Argus, but not impossible, I guess. But it seems reminiscent of a conversation Jaune had with Pyrrha back in Beacon Academy. And I'm sure Jaune thought something similar as he got up and followed the leaf, which led him right to a statue of Pyrrha. And that's where it starts tugging at the heartstrings, brings a tear to the eye, and I'm sure it felt a lot more heartfelt for Jaune, having been in the situation he's in. We see that the statue has been erected in Pyrrha's honor as one of many who fought valiantly at the fall of Beacon. And we see that Jaune's actually not alone at the statue. There's Pyrrha look-alike, probably a sister or family member. I guess maybe Pyrrha's ghost. I doubt it, though. Someone with same color hair as Pyrrha, albeit shorter than Pyrrha's hair, same green eyes, and what appears to be the same voice actor, saying that, Pyrrha went to Sanctum Academy here, and she decided to go to Beacon afterwards. It was where she wanted to be. And she was glad that Pyrrha had such great friends around her, looking at Jaune, of course. And she goes further to say that Pyrrha understood she had a responsibility, that as a huntress, there wasn't really a choice to be made, as implying that, a huntress's duty was to protect and do what they can. She had a responsibility to try, and a huntress is always what she wanted to be, so she followed that path. And Jaune comforted her by saying, even though Pyrrha didn't graduate, she certainly was a huntress. They both have tears in their eyes, and, she thanks Jaune for his words. And then Ren and Nora show up, and the look-alike is just gone, vanished into thin air, which kind of implies that it might have been Pyrrha's ghost, though doubtful, even though Jaune's words, Pyrrha was a huntress, true and true, even though she didn't graduate, could have been something to comfort Pyrrha as well. I'm guessing it was probably towards her family member. Ren and Nora come to the statue, see that it's a statue of Pyrrha, and Jaune, now understanding, I think she knew she wasn't going to win that fight. She knew that she had a chance of dying that day. But she went through it anyways because she knew she was the only one who could try. And they all agree. Jaune, Ren, Nora, they all agree that they should do the same. They're the only ones in this situation. They're the only ones who can try, so that's what they're going to do. They have the resolve. They've been able to move past it, as Jaune was even being hard on himself, saying he was a horrible leader, a horrible friend, which he has said before. And they told him, we need to move past this. Like, come on. They're there for him. They support him. They love Pyrrha. They love him too. They're all family. So they're finally able to move forward. And even though Pyrrha's not with them, they can fight like she is. And then we cut back to, Saffron and Terracotta's house, where Crow's passed out on the steps. Team RWBY's there just saying, it's the worst we've ever seen him. Everyone else shows up as well, Terracotta, Saffron, and Team Junior. And Terracotta points out, this is great for the neighbors, but hey, they're being accommodating to professional huntsmen such as Crow. Real professional passing out on the steps, but hey, you never know. And Jaune even goes on to say, we'll still look for Oscar. We're not leaving without him. We're not going to Atlas without him. So everyone is now unified. They know everything, at least the people who are going to be moving forward, and they are ready to move forward. And then the door opens, and who else but Oscar is already home. Everyone, is happy to see him and just tackles him. Again, Oscar now has new clothes and is cooking dinner for everyone. So apparently, after being pushed against a wall, yelled at, and someone yelling the same concerns that you have had, because Oscar points out that he's had the same concerns, that he doesn't know how much time he has left, being his own individual person, etc., etc. Apparently, after all that happens, you go out, buy yourself some clothes, get some food, and start cooking dinner for everyone. I'm glad to see that Oscar's grown up enough to understand, hey, I have these concerns. And he even goes on to say also that I don't know how long I'm going to be my own person, but I want to help as long as for whatever time I have left, which is really growing up of him. But also, after being thrown against a wall and had all these things yelled at him, had his friends turn on him even briefly, he's like, you know what? I'm going to stay calm. I'm just going to go off for a little bit, do his own thing, and then come back. It was very simple, fairly grown up of him. Crow starts walking up the stairs, and Ruby just says, hey, you know what? Just sit with us. You've been gone all day. Sit with us. Crow doesn't even want to do that, saying, we're still no step closer to Atlas. Jaune has an idea, however. Elysian military airships seem to be the only ones able to get clearance to go to Atlas, so why don't we just take one of those? And that's as far as his plan goes, but hey, it's an idea. Though Crow points out, as I'm sure everyone realizes, you don't want to make enemies of the Elysian military. Because having an entire military after you is a very bad thing. Especially if the military is distracted going after them, that opens up the opportunity for other enemies to attack, but that's beside the point. RWBY, however, puts her foot down. You know what? I don't care what you think right now. We've gotten this far our own way. I want to hear him out, and we're going to continue our own way. You're welcome to join us if you want. And the look on Crow's face is kind of priceless, because although he's one of my favorite characters aesthetically, he's really starting to get on my nerves with all of this self-pity and self-hatred business. He needs to get over it as well, and hopefully his own niece putting her foot down and telling him, you know what? Screw you, we're going to do our own way, you're welcome to join us. We'll snap him out of it to some extent. Even Maria chimes in saying, you didn't give her enough credit either, and that's where the episode ends. So we'll see where everything goes next episode, if they're actually going to try to break into the Elysian military base to steal an airship, and if they succeed, then there's their ticket to Atlas. However, if the military captures them, hopefully it'll be in Atlas, so then Ironwood might hear about it, be able to go to the prison, hear them out, etc., release them, and then go from there. But Tyrian and Watts are going to be in Atlas as well. I don't think that is necessarily going to come to fruition this volume, considering this is episode 9. There's only 13 or 14 episodes. I think it was 13 episodes for this volume, if I remember correctly. So there's 4 more after this. I don't think everyone's going to make it to Atlas and then have an entire confrontation there. That seems like next volume. It's going to take an entire volume for all of those events to take place and be set up. So this volume, it seems like it's going to end off with them making their way to Atlas, but there's going to be a confrontation in Argus with Cinder, Neo, and Adam. And that's probably what's going to start happening at the end of next episode, maybe the episode following, because as we saw in previous volume, the Battle of Haven took place over 3 or 4 episodes. So that's probably what's going to happen here. And it's going to start happening next episode, is my guess. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm glad to see that Oscar is acting pretty grown up, and he made the comment that he's concerned about being his own person as well. And there's conflicting stories with this, because Ozpin had previously said that, well, exactly what Oscar's concerned about, that he is reincarnated in a body with another soul, and they eventually combine. But when Jin was recounting the entire story, Ozpin had learned to live alongside the soul he was reincarnated in. So I don't know which side is actually going to be the case and where it's going to go from here. I'd like to think that Oscar and Ozpin are going to stay separate, because if their souls combine, then that's going to kind of take away Oscar as a character, take away Ozpin as a character, and just give us a combination of the two. I mean, storyline-wise, that's not too bad, but anyone who ships Oscar and RWBY together, sorry, but I think that would probably kill that ship right there, because RWBY dating a fusion of her teacher, no, that's bad territory, don't get into that. So my guess is that their souls are going to stay separate, and then at the end of the series, Ozpin's soul is going to be able to rest in peace along with Salem's soul, assuming she ends up being killed or finally released from her immortality and they can go to the afterlife together. You know, typical fairy tale things. So I'd like to think that they're going to stay separate for the rest of the series, but of course, Oscar not knowing as much, his concerns are definitely justified. Hopefully Crow will snap out of everything, and most importantly with this episode, I'm glad Jaune has been able to come to terms with finally the fall of Beacon, and hopefully come to terms with Ozpin, that he wasn't directly responsible for Pyrrha's death. Yes, it was Ozpin's fault that Pyrrha was at the tower at that time, but now that Jaune has accepted that Pyrrha made her choice, that she decided to go up to that tower knowing that she may not come back, it's not directly Ozpin's fault. So maybe Jaune will be able to actually talk with Ozpin if he returns and, you know, not have a hatred towards Oscar. Things along those lines so that he can move forward and maybe be able to figure things out. And also place his anger and hatred in the correct place, that being towards Cinder, though hopefully not as bad as it has been in the past. As Ren and Nora pointed out, they heard what he said to Cinder, that he got really emotional that Cinder was still sitting there boasting about all the people that she's killed and still smiling about it. And he charged at her with no care of his own life. But now he's finally able to move past that. He's able to accept it, and they're all going to move forward. Even though Pyrrha's not with them physically, they can still fight like she is. They can still carry her in their hearts. And I'm not giving up that Pyrrha's not coming back in this series overall, because I really hope she is. Amazing fighter, and frankly, Jaune and Pyrrha, fantastic together. Though I do support Jaune and Weiss as well at this point. We'll see if anything of that happens, but still, there's a lot that is being set up in this episode. As well with Emerald and Mercury. Emerald definitely is not happy there. She doesn't want to be there without Cinder, and Mercury, although he's saying he's belonging, Tyrian, as I mentioned, saw right through that. He's just used to being in that kind of situation. I don't think he actually wants to be there. Sure, being the top dog in the new world. Yeah, okay, that'd be nice. But is that really what you want? Because the world that Salem wants is pretty much humanity wiped out. We've seen already that Salem and Mercury aren't really too happy with everything. They followed Cinder. That was it. They didn't really ask for this. They bit off a little bit more than they can chew. So there's still hope for them that, I guess, Mercury and Emerald have killed a couple people in the past, so won't be full forgiveness, but I'm hoping that they can at least separate themselves from Salem. Mercury definitely wants, or Emerald definitely wants to, and I think Mercury's not going to be too happy there as well. If he can come to terms with his past, you know, the hatred that he feels, his father imparted on him a lot, not only the skills of the assassin, but the hatred as well, and the not caring for anyone around him. Mercury really needs to move past this as well. Like, him and Emerald, although they've come from different places, they still have a fair bit in common, including their situation, and likely that they don't really want to be in that situation. As I mentioned, they bit off more than they can chew, so they're probably going to end up leaving. At least I hope they do. And that means Tyrian will probably go after them as well, so that's going to lead to an interesting confrontation, and maybe Team RWBY, Team Juniper, will have to come to their rescue, or someone else will. I don't know exactly where that's going to lead, but it'd be nice to see Emerald and Mercury leave by the end of this volume, even, or within the next couple episodes. But again, we'll have to see. So, all in all, this episode was pretty good. It definitely had the feels, and it's setting up very well for everyone moving forward. Jaune even said, when he encountered Oscar again, you know, the team wouldn't be the same without you here. So all 8 of them are a close-knit team. They all care about each other greatly. Team RWBY, Team Junior, and now Oscar as well. Of course, carrying along Maria and Crow, though they've not been through the same situations. They're not, you know, the same age, and they've had different experiences, so I guess they're not as close to everyone. But I'm hoping that, you know, Crow can at least stay with them. Maria, I don't know how long she's going to travel with them. Unfortunately, I don't know if she's going to live out even the rest of this volume. I hope she does, because she's a great character and RWBY needs to be taught about the Silver Eyes, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about this episode, how you feel about Pyrrha, seeing her, or at least her image again, and what you think of the look-alike, whether it's just a simple family member or if it was actually, in fact, a ghost of Pyrrha or something along those lines. I personally don't think it's a ghost of Pyrrha, but you never know. It could be, and if we'll ever encounter her again. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.